What's up, Fluffle Gang? I hope everybody had a great holiday. I hope everybody has a great New Year's. Today we're taking a look at Zero's interpretation of the boss's will and how he tackled fulfilling it. We're going to have spoilers for the whole MGS franchise in today's video since Zero has his sticky fingers on something in pretty much every game, so beware. Zero felt that the only way to fulfill the boss's will was through force. He crafted system after system to control humanity and steer the world towards unification under one will, his own. He felt this was the only way to achieve something close to what the boss wanted and either disregarded or didn't understand her desire for people's wills to be respected regardless of borders. Instead of respecting the will of the individual regardless of where they're from, he sought to draw one big border around the world and force all people to reside within it. Throughout MGS3, the boss talks frequently about the times. Politics determine who you face on the battlefield. It was politics that pitted Naked Snake and Zero against the boss, and politics that ultimately cost her life as she was slated to take the fall for the US and die by the hands of her mentee, Naked Snake. What better way to ensure that something like that never happens again than to become the times yourself and to control the politics of the whole world? This was Zero's logic, and he did everything he could to execute his vision. Let's take a look at the three main ways Zero tried to control the world. The Patriots. At the end of MGS3, the boss tells Snake she wants to reunite the philosophers and use their resources to reunite the world. The philosophers were a group of affluent, influential people from the US, China, and the Soviet Union who came together following World War I to govern the world in secret. Their goal was to steer the world away from the destructive endeavors and more towards a world united. After World War II, however, the philosophers grew corrupt and separated. The boss wanted to rebuild her own globalist version of the philosophers, and after the boss's death, Zero fulfills a version of this goal. Zero uses his resources to found the Patriots and take over and replaces the American branch of the philosophers. By the 1990s, the Patriots covertly controlled the US, with America's economy, information, and material distribution all falling under their control. The president of the US served as their puppet, with democratic elections being nothing more than a play put on to keep the illusion of control intact for the American people. The Patriots were originally formed to fulfill the boss's dream of a united world. The group consisted of people who were involved in Operation Snake Eater and witnessed the boss's sacrifice firsthand. It was headed by Zero and included Naked Snake, Dr. Clark, Paramedic, Sigint, Eva, and Revolver Ocelot. The Patriots aimed to govern the world from behind the scenes through espionage and by influencing politics through the control they held over the world power, the US. By the 1990s, the Patriots had succeeded in gaining the desired control over the United States, and Zero's vision was on the way to being completed. As time went on, however, Big Boss's and Zero's interpretation of the boss's will started to differ. Friction from differing opinions and resentment from Zero wanting to use Big Boss as their idol mounted over time, and Big Boss left the Patriots to pursue his own vision of the boss's will. The boss didn't agree with how soldiers were viewed as commodities to be used by their governments to enforce their political agendas. Zero wanted to use Big Boss and his warrior abilities in the same way that soldiers were used by their nations, using his status as a legendary soldier to unify their organization. Zero didn't understand how his objectification of Big Boss was in violation of the boss's will and even went so far as to clone Big Boss against his will, commodifying his soldier genes and duplicating him as best he could. Zero was simulating the things the boss disliked as the Patriots became the Times for the US, a group controlling the country politically and deciding for the people who was friend and foe regardless of the people's will. With his desire to duplicate Big Boss's soldier genes, he took commodifying soldiers to a whole new level. Soldiers would now be appraised based on a whole new set of harmful expectations and pressure to take on these new soldier genes to be valuable soldiers. Zero started to shift from trying to unite the world to trying to control it, and we see that in his sham elections, controlling them to steer the American people in the direction he wanted them to go in. This flies in the face of everything the boss believed in. Next we have the Patriots AIS. Big Boss's withdrawal from the Patriots wounded Zero, who considered him a friend. He lost faith in humanity and in humanity's ability to understand what he was trying to accomplish. He lost faith in the next generation to be able to take up his mantle and continue his work towards uniting the world under the Patriots' rule, so he commissioned Dr. Strangelove to develop a set of AIs to serve as his successors. The Patriots AIs, also known as the System, governed the Patriots and had control of the US by the 2000s. It's fitting that the Patriots AIs were known as the System since Zero was setting up systems in which to govern the world after he was gone. He didn't have any faith in humanity to understand and continue his vision. In part, his distrust of humanity was attributed to a parasite that was slowly robbing him of his cognitive functions. He got the idea for the Patriot AIs to rule over humanity from Hot and Cold Man, but after the Peace Walker incident in 1974, where the AI was less than reliable in carrying out Hot Cold Man's vision, Zero took away the AI's ability to act independently. Instead, they were designed with a set of rules that would limit their function to filtering information, which would then be passed on to human operatives in order to guide their decision-making. Unfortunately, Dr. Strangelove would be killed before she was able to finish the AIS, which meant Donald Anderson would take up the mantle and head the project. His influence changed the outcome of the project, and instead of programming the AIs with basic human concepts like empathy, as Dr. Strangelove had wanted as she felt this would bring about a future closer to the boss's vision, he programmed in the ability for them to learn for themselves and give broad instructions. This ability to learn for themselves would result in the Patriot AIs deviating from Zero's will, and they would eliminate every trace of the boss's will from their programming. Zero felt humanity couldn't be trusted to continue his work with the Patriots, so he turned to Dr. Strangelove to help develop a set of AIs that would serve as his successors. These AIs were meant to control the flow of information, though after Dr. Strangelove's death, their development shifted to giving them the ability to learn for themselves and give broad instructions by Sagan, who took over their development. Unfortunately, the AI's ability to learn led them away from their original purpose and away from Zero's and any trace of the boss's will. They erased the boss's will from their programming as they spiraled further and further out of Zero's control. Sons of the Patriots. Zero's second system he created to control the world was the Sons of the Patriot system, an advanced battlefield control system operated by the proxy AIs of the Patriots. It was meant to unify humanity under a single will by controlling weapons and soldiers of state militaries and private military companies. Shorthand, the Sons of the Patriots was also referred to as SOP, which is also the same acronym for Standard Operating Procedure. Standard Operating Procedure is a set of instructions that describes the step-by-step process that must be taken to properly perform a routine activity. It can't be coincidence that the Sons of the Patriot system shared the same acronym as Standard Operating Procedure as Zero is building SOPs to rule the world by. The Sons of the Patriot system was meant to be the standard operating procedure for state militaries and private military companies. It allowed soldiers an advantage in the field as they could combat enemies more effectively utilizing SOP to coordinate tactics. This system, though seemingly beneficial to the armies that used it, was nothing more than a tool to control and better use soldiers on the battlefield, reducing soldiers even more so to commodities that could be further enhanced and made useful by SOP. SOP dampened their emotional response to war, taking away part of their humanity as they soldiered on, numb and fearless, ready to give their lives for those employing them. By controlling the weapons and battlefields of the militaries across the world, Zero, or more accurately by this point, the Patriot AIs, controlled the world. Soldiers could be taken out of commission easily by SOP locking their weapons, and if they were forcibly removed from SOP, the emotional backlash of the traumas they'd repressed suddenly bubbling up to the surface would send the soldier into fits and could even give them a heart attack. SOP also benefited soldiers by making it easier to coordinate teams as it allowed soldiers to share each other's senses. It also monitored the chemical balance of every soldier in combat and was able to induce an artificial combat high by controlling the release of adrenaline and endorphins, elevating the soldier's senses and accuracy. Because of these benefits and the control it gave to the military power and command, all state armies and PMCs had SOP implanted in them by 2014, and law enforcement agencies and paramilitaries were adopting them. As SOP traced back to one source, the Patriot AIs, it effectively put the Patriot AIs in control of the world. They could shut down or enhance armies at will if they wanted, and as they controlled the war machine, they could influence the world in any way they desired. Politics and the times are what ultimately cost the boss her life as she was cast as a martyr for the US. She dreamed of a world where the times wouldn't pit friends against one another and where people could come together regardless of borders for the benefit of humanity as a whole. Zero didn't trust humanity to ever unite under their own power and felt the best way to fulfill the boss's will was to draw a singular border around the world himself. If people all participated in his SOPs, they'd be forcibly united by his SOPs. Zero became the Times himself to control politics. If he controlled politics in the Times, he could unite the world under his will and fulfill the boss's dream of seeing the world united. Unfortunately, he missed the part on how the boss wanted to see people's wills respected regardless of borders, and instead tried to force the world together under his policies and many AIs/SOPs. His interpretation of the boss's will is a miss, and grew more and more corrupt as Zero lost control over his organization and his AIs as he lost himself to a degenerative disease. And that's what we have for Zero's interpretation of the boss's will. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. Please like, subscribe, bell. Please take care of yourselves. I will see you all in the next one. Thank you.